What's up everybody, I'm Joe from Mainline Overland. Today we're walking you through this epic F350 Flatbed 4-wheel camper build that we outfitted with a Granby Woolrich 4-wheel camper, so let's dive in. Starting off up front here, we have Buckstop's Outback front bumper. This is an aluminum bumper, so even though this looks huge and stout, it is still super lightweight because of its aluminum. This bumper features this nice wraparound protection bull bar, so it's going to protect you from animal strikes if you're out west. It's a huge concern. You've got to worry about elk and bear and moose and stuff like that. So this is going to provide a bunch of front end protection. This bumper's got a bunch of provisions for lighting up front here. So starting out at the end here, we have Baja Design's new SAE Squadron Sport. So these are the SAE legal ones. So these are fine to run on the road. We have those in amber. Moving on, we have the XLR Sports. These are in the flood pattern. So this is going to give you a nice flood pattern off-road, kind of give you a widespread light. So moving up to the center here, we went with Baja Design's LP9 Pro lights. These are in clear and they're the driving combo. So you kind of get a mix of spotlight up top as well as a flood pattern down below. So you kind of get the best of both worlds with these lights. You're going to throw bright white light further down the road. You're also going to get a more spread pattern up front to help complement these XLR Sports up here. For the winch setup, we went with Warren's 16.5 S winch in here. This is a really big rig, so we needed the biggest and baddest winch we could fit. So this 16.5 is plenty of power to pull this big rig kind of out of any situation. I really hope this customer gets out there and gets to use this winch. I would love to see pictures of this thing getting pulled out of a mud hole or something like that. Another really cool feature on the Buckstop bumper is that there's actually this little plate here. If you turn this knob, you remove this plate and you get full access into the winch in here. So you can get to the free spool lever, you can get to the solenoid. The biggest benefit of this is you can actually see how your synthetic line is spooling up here, so you can make sure you have a nice straight spool. You're not getting any tangles or anything else like that in there. And this bumper also has kind of a flush mount setup for the winch controller, so you don't have to go digging down in here. The winch control access point is actually right on top of the bumper here, so it makes it super easy to plug in your winch controller and get to pulling yourself out. We've also got a Warren Fairlead and Warren winch hook up here. Another thing I actually forgot to mention on this bumper is it has a 2-inch receiver up here. So if you wanted to run a bike rack or some other kind of accessory up here, you have that option to do it. It also is a great recovery point. Another super nice feature about this bumper is it still retains all the front safety sense and factory cruise control, parking sensors, everything like that. This bumper has accommodations for, so you don't have to worry about kind of getting any weird error codes with your modern trucks and all these sensors that they come with these days. If the lighting on the front of this truck wasn't enough, we also have Baja Design's LP4 ditch lights. On a big truck like this, we wanted to go with a big ditch light, and I think these proportion-wise are perfect. And then up on top of the cab here, we have Baja Design's XL linkable light bar, which are 8 individual lights that are gonna shoot out far down the road, some super bright light. So with these up here, we got the lighting totally covered for traveling down the road. And we have these mounted up to a front runner roof rack. This gave us a place to mount these light bar, and it also fills up some of that cab over gap from the 4-wheel camper. And if you look at this thing, that gap is super tight. We still have plenty of tolerance in there for kind of movement around, so it's not gonna hit anything, but I think this as a whole package looks killer. This front runner rack also gave us the opportunity to add some side scene lighting for at camp. So this Baja Design's S2 Pro light, this has the work pattern on here, so it's gonna give you a nice diffused light pattern, so it's not gonna be too harsh. This is perfect if you're just hanging out at camp or cooking up dinner. It's to provide you plenty of light for whatever you're doing. Moving on to wheels and tires, we went with Method's 701. This is the HD wheel, so it's made to fit the 8-lug heavy-duty trucks. I think this is the matte black finish, looks great on this truck, black on black, murdered out, can't go wrong. For tires, we went with the BF Goodwrench KM3s. These are 37 by 12.5. There's plenty of room to fit 37s. There's no reason why you shouldn't go 37s on a big full-size truck like this. Driving this thing down the road, the engine and transmission handle this like nothing. Didn't feel like there was any weight in this truck. So 37, 12.5 is definitely the way to go on full-size Fords like this. We push a lot of people, honestly, to the new KM3 mud terrains. Previous generations of mud tires are super loud, didn't last that long. But honestly, the KM3s are super quiet on the road. Driving over here, I didn't really notice it. And it really gives you a peace of mind if you do get into a muddy situation. The all-terrain tires are super easy to get caked up and spin, where a mud terrain is going to be able to clear the mud and keep you from getting stuck out on the trail. On a big build like this, the suspension that we choose is going to have the biggest impact on how the final build actually turns out. So for a build like this, we turn to Carli. This is Carli's pin top suspension kit for the Ford F350. They also make it for the F250. But this kit features King shocks up here that are kind of tuned specifically for a truck like this. They have custom coil springs up here. This kit also includes forged radius arms that are absolutely massive and beefy. Those things are really impressive. We have dual steering stabilizers up front, and we also have an upgraded torsion sway bar. So Carli has spent a ton of time kind of dialing in this setup, and if you got a full-size truck and you want to get out in the backcountry, do some serious exploring, this is the only way to go. Moving on to this rear suspension setup, we have the King's remote reservoir shock to match the one that's up in the front. We also have Carli's heavy-duty leaf spring pack to match the appropriate weight for a truck like this. We also have Firestone Ride Right airbags to give us a little extra support in the rear, and those are mounted to Daystar cradles, which allow the axle to flex up and down without having to worry about tearing that airbag all apart.
So we are in probably the biggest full-size truck that we've been in to date. Joe, how does the ride feel out on like normal public roads?
Yeah, so this thing is super comfortable. It feels like you're basically riding on a cloud. We just went over a bunch of potholes and manhole covers, and like you barely feel them. Yeah, which is really amazing because this is such a big, heavy truck, and it's also solid axles. Where most solid axle vehicles, you kind of one end goes down, you feel it kind of reverberate throughout the car, and just solid axles are known for that kind of like jumpy, choppy kind of ride. But this thing is so comfortable. Yeah, like it's
super stout, super comfortable. You'd never know that you were riding in a truck of this weight and length. Yeah, no. I've been in plenty of smaller trucks that rode way worse than this, you know? So yeah, I think the ride feels great, and the nice thing about the suspension kit too is that even though we are comfortable on-road, we're gonna have plenty of articulation off-road. We're gonna be able to move around and really get out to those remote spots to fully use this vehicle.
Yeah, the suspension's really designed to go off-road and handle those big whoops, handle the big bumps and washboard roads, and that just means that the on-street feel of it is outstanding. Yeah. So that's kind of the benefit of going through, getting this fully engineered suspension system with the King shocks, and kind of every little piece of the suspension is engineered and dialed in.
So another extremely important part of this build is the tray we went with. Joe, can you tell us a little bit more about why we went with a Norweld 8-foot weekender tray for this truck?
Yeah, so Norweld has been making flatbeds for years and years and years in Australia. They're kind of known to be the best you can get out there. So this truck has the 8-foot Norweld weekender, which has the underdrawer storage, it has water tank, it has storage boxes front and rear of the wheel. So you really just get a ton of storage space with this tray, and it's pretty much bomb-proof. Like people load insane amount of weight on these trays. They hold up to the elements. They're definitely the best. So we took it to our paint guys. They painted it black and actually did the deck of it in a Rhino liner, Raptor liner kind of
a combination.
Textured paint. So we have a little more durable kind of surface on the flatbed, and I think the way this tray came out looks killer. It's got a black truck. The black tray, it's definitely the way to do it.
And the cool thing about the Weekender too, being the 8-foot model, is it's got really large boxes down underneath, so you have a lot more storage than you would with a normal full-size truck without an extended bed.
Yeah, because we typically do, I would say an 8-foot bed, flatbed is, I don't want to say rare, but definitely less common than the 6.5 and 7-footers. So we're pretty used to those dimensions and those boxes, but the boxes you get on the 8-foot trays are really impressive. Like you could fit a ton of gear in there.
Yep. And we also have our ARB compressor built in on there, so you can air up super easy, which is extremely nice and convenient when you're out on the trail. Something we won't be using today out on the road, but when you do need it, it's amazing to have it right there.
Yeah. And having the boxes mounted underneath the tray is really a game changer when you're traveling, because you really don't want to keep a bunch of muddy, cruddy stuff in your camper or in your truck. So those boxes kind of give you the perfect place to keep like dirty hiking boots, recovery gear, basically anything you want to keep out of sight, out of mind. And they're super easy to access too.
Yep. And they're nice and dust proof and watertight too. So I mean, it's perfect just to have anything that you don't necessarily want in the camper stored right out there.
If you're a fan of flatbed 4-wheel camper builds, you're probably wondering how the hell did we mount this box and giant 37-inch spare on the back of the camper? Well, it's actually not mounted on the camper at all. It is mounted to Trailready's rear bumper that is designed specifically for the Norweld trays. So this bumper cleans up the rear of the tray, taking up some of that gap underneath the truck here. And it also gives you these 2 mounting arms to mount a box and a spare tire. If you wanted to run 2 boxes, you could. If you wanted to run 2 spares, you could. If you didn't want anything back here, you could also run the bumper just by itself. But we think the box and the spare is definitely the setup to go with. This Trailready rear bumper is full steel construction. We had it coated in Raptor liner, like some other elements on this truck, to kind of give it the full look front and back. This bumper has allocations for rear parking sensors. It relocates the rear trailer hitch, so it kind of has everything integrated that you would be missing, because you do have to remove the factory trailer hitch to install this bumper. This bumper also is perfectly spaced out that we still have use of the rear drawer on the Norweld tray. If you're looking to learn more about this rear bumper, click this link up above. We did a full product review and walk through all the features all in one concise little short video. On the rear here, we also installed a Weboost cell booster antenna. So this customer wanted to stay connected to the internet while still out on all these adventures. I think it's because he still wanted to stay up to date on all of our reels, but this cell booster will help boost cell phone signal and help you stay connected. Hidden behind the spare tire and box on the rear, we have Four Wheel Camper's rear back rack, which helps us store some Rotopax as well as Matrax. And yes, these are yellow. This is a diesel truck. Now that we've gone through all the details on this truck build, I just wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about the camper. So this is Four Wheel Camper's Woolrich Granby Flatbed. Granby means it's made for an 8-foot bed truck. The Woolrich was a special edition that they made for a few years now. They only made 100 of them, but it's really cool that we got one of the last ones, because we were actually one of the big factors that pushed 4-Wheel to come out with this limited edition Woolrich. Since Woolrich is based in Pennsylvania, we kind of have a history and understand the company. So years ago, we kind of pushed them to make this special edition camper, and it's super cool that we got one of the last ones. If you want to see a full interior walkthrough of this camper, go ahead and click this video up above. We did a deep dive video to go through all the features inside this camper. I think the coolest part about this build is this customer traveled all the way from Oklahoma to our Pennsylvania shop to get his truck built out with the flatbed 4-wheel camper, the Norweld tray, the whole works, all done at our PA shop. These are the kind of builds I absolutely love. I think if you're looking to do long-term expedition travel, this is the #1 way to go. The flatbed 4-wheel campers have a ton of room. These big full-size trucks are super comfortable on the road and really make expedition travel super comfortable and easy. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more content and builds like this, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And please leave a comment down below on where the first place you would take this truck if you got the keys for a weekend.